June 6, 1654. The great hall of Uppsala Castle fell into a silence so heavy it felt as though the very stones were holding their breath. Queen Christina, the most powerful woman in Europe, reached up and did what no one else dared. She removed the crown from her own head. She did not just set aside a title. She set aside a fate that had been written for her since the day of her birth. Welcome to Crowns and Sorrows. Today we step behind the brocade curtains of history to meet the queen who chose a life of scandal over a life of duty. Why would a woman at the height of her power walk away from everything? To understand, we must look at the person inside the title. Christina was the daughter of the Lion of the North, Gustavus Adolphus. He was a titan of the 30 Years' War, a man whose shadow loomed large. Having no son, the king ordered that his daughter be raised and educated as a prince. She would be trained for war and for wisdom. But her childhood was also defined by the grief of her mother, Maria Eleonora, whose despair over the king's death created a suffocating court. Christina fled into her studies. By 12, she was mastering 6 languages. By 18, she was debating the finer points of philosophy. Europe called her the Minerva of the North, a mind too vast for the cage of a 17th century Swedish court. But a mind cannot produce an heir. The Swedish Riksdag demanded a marriage. They wanted a submissive queen to ensure the succession. Christina found the idea repulsive. She saw marriage as a form of slavery, a surrender of the intellect she had fought to claim. In the silence of her private chambers, she began to explore the forbidden, the Roman Catholic faith of her father's bitterest enemies. She sought answers from the greatest minds of her age, beginning a secret and intense correspondence with René Descartes. She summoned him to Stockholm, demanding he teach her at 5 in the morning. The clash of their intellects would change her forever. She realized she could not live a lie. To keep her faith and her freedom, she would have to lose her kingdom. The plan was set. On that fateful June morning, she faced her subjects. The Riksdag was prepared for a speech, not a departure. When her most trusted advisor refused to touch the crown, Christina did not falter. She took her own destiny into her hands. It was an act of radical self-determination. In one motion, she ceased to be a monarch and began to be herself. She descended the steps as a commoner, leaving the weight of Sweden's history behind in the Great Hall. Within 24 hours, the transformation began. She cut her hair, strapped on a sword, and donned the clothes of a man. She became the Count of Donau, riding toward the Danish border with a freedom that felt like oxygen to a drowning woman. As she crossed the border, she famously remarked that she was finally at liberty and in peace. But the world was anything but peaceful. Whispers followed her. A queen in breeches was a scandal that set every court in Europe on edge. The gossip was relentless. She refused to sit side saddle. She spoke with a masculine directness, and she ignored the protocols of the Baroque era. In Hamburg, she stayed with a Jewish banker, another defiance of tradition. She was a celebrity, a philosopher, and a rebel. In Antwerp, she held court in the salons, charming and shocking the elite with her intellect and her refusal to wear a corset. Brussels was where the secret faith finally found a voice. On Christmas Eve, 1654, she formally but secretly embraced Catholicism. It was a moment of profound spiritual rebellion. The daughter of the great Protestant champion had returned to the Mother Church. But she had to keep it secret. Her Swedish pension was tied to her remaining a Lutheran. For months, she lived a double life. Finally, in Innsbruck, the truth could no longer be hidden. She made a public profession of her faith before the world. The Vatican hailed it as a miracle. The Lion of the North's daughter was their greatest trophy. The propaganda value was immeasurable. Operas were composed in her honor. She was celebrated across Catholic Europe as a modern-day saint, though she was anything but. She continued to shock. She wore a red dress to meet the devout, a color associated with the fallen, a deliberate jab at pious expectations. As she rode toward Rome, the excitement was electric. Pope Alexander VII prepared a welcome fit for a conquering hero. Bernini himself was commissioned to redecorate the city's northern gate. Rome was opening its arms to its new barbaric queen. She entered on a white horse, head held high, straddling the saddle like a soldier. She had traded her kingdom for a city. In a ceremony of breathtaking scale, the Pope administered her confirmation. He gave her the name Alexandra, a nod to greatness. But the Vatican's dream of a submissive convert quickly faded. Alexander VII found that his trophy had a mind of her own. She skipped Mass, she criticized the Church, and she spoke of scientific truths that the Vatican found deeply uncomfortable. She was a staunch defender of Galileo, prioritizing reason and observation over the dogmas of the Church she had just joined. The satirical lampoons of Rome were brutal. They called her a woman without shame and a Christian without a faith. In the midst of the scandal, she found Cardinal Decio Azzolino. He was her intellectual equal and her most devoted companion. Their correspondence reveals a relationship that was both deeply emotional and intensely political. He was her anchor in a sea of intrigue. The Palazzo Riario became the heart of intellectual Rome. She founded academies for science, literature, and music. Corelli and Scarlatti were her favorites. Under her patronage, the Baroque style reached new heights of emotional complexity. Even in Rome, she could not fully leave Sweden. She plotted, she corresponded, and she even considered a return to power in Naples. A dark shadow fell over her reign in exile when she ordered the execution of her secretary, Monaldeschi, for betrayal. It was a royal act in a city of popes. The pope was horrified. He called her a barbarian born in a crown. Christina simply replied that she was still a queen in her own right. As she aged, she became a permanent fixture of Rome, an eccentric, brilliant, and utterly unique figure of the 17th century. Modern historians see in her a radical expression of gender nonconformity, a person who refused to be defined by the roles of their era. She spent her final days in the pursuit of alchemy and philosophy, still searching for the ultimate truths of the universe. In 1689, the queen who rode out of her kingdom finally found rest. Her death was as dignified and emotional as her life had been. She was given the rare honor of burial in the Grotta Vatican. She lies there today, one of only 3 women in the heart of the Church. Her journey was a quest for a place where her heart could match her crown, a story of duty, love, and the price of freedom. She remains the queen who walked away, a reminder that the greatest battles are often the ones fought within ourselves. Which royal heart should we hear about next? Who else do you think chose their truth over their throne? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to Crowns and Sorrows for more intimate journeys into the heart of history. To truly understand her choice, we must look closer at the world she left behind, a land of iron and ice, where the crown was a burden of history. Sweden was a rising power, a nation forged in the fires of the 30 Years' War. It was a land that expected its monarch to be a titan. Gustavus Adolphus had built an empire, but he had left his daughter a legacy that felt more like a prison than a promise. Christina understood the machinery of power, but she had no desire to be the gear that turned it. Her heart was in the pages of her library. She spent hours in this sanctuary, reading the forbidden thoughts of the continent, dreaming of a life where the mind was the only sovereign. The long Swedish winters provided the silence she needed to plan her escape. A cold, beautiful silence that mirrored her own resolve. When the final demand for her marriage came, it was the catalyst for the end. She knew she could not give them what they wanted without losing herself. Her conversion was not just about religion. It was about choosing a philosophy that recognized her as more than a political instrument. The ride through Denmark was a blur of adrenaline and fear. She was a fugitive from her own throne, chasing a horizon she had only read about. In the markets of Antwerp, she tasted a different kind of life, a world of commerce and conversation that existed outside the palace walls. The secret chapel in Brussels was her first taste of a spiritual home, a quiet place where the Queen of Sweden could just be a woman of faith. Innsbruck was her public debut on the world stage. The name Alexandra was more than a title, it was a new beginning. The Roman crowd saw a miracle, but Christina saw a city where her mind could finally breathe, a city of history that understood her ambition. The silhouette of the dome became her new horizon, a symbol of the intellectual and spiritual power she had chosen over political power. In her salon, the debates lasted until dawn. She was the center of a new kingdom, a kingdom of ideas and discovery. Her story is a testament to the human spirit's need for authenticity, a reminder that sometimes the only way to rule your own life is to walk away. The crown remains, a relic of a past she left behind. But the story of Christina lives on, a queen who wrote into her own legend. Join us next time as we delve into more hearts that changed history. Subscribe to Crowns and Sorrows. In 1656, Christina's journey took her to the heart of the French court. Even the Sun King, Louis XIV, was captivated by the woman who had defied every convention. She appeared at the Louvre with no corset, her hair tangled, and her masculine doublet buttoned to the chin. The French ladies were both horrified and fascinated. But her time in France was stained by a brutal act of justice or murder. She discovered her secretary, Monaldeschi, was betraying her secrets. She ordered his execution in the gallery of the palace. She claimed she was a sovereign queen, answerable only to God, even in another's land. The incident shocked Europe. The philosopher queen was now seen as a dangerous autocrat. Her freedom was proving to have a dark and heavy price. She returned to Rome, to the sanctuary of the Palazzo Riario, turning her back on the politics of blood for the politics of the mind. She founded the Accademia dell'Arcadia, a society dedicated to the purity of literature and science. She was the heart of the Roman Enlightenment. Under her patronage, the first public opera house in Rome opened its doors. She believed that beauty and intellect should belong to everyone. Her letters to Azzolino in her final years are a profound testament to a love that was intellectual, spiritual, and deeply, humanly real. She was, in the end, the Queen of Curiosity, a woman who refused to be a monument, choosing instead to be a living, breathing question. Her story is why we created Crowns and Sorrows, to find the human pulse beneath the heavy weight of history.